This show is brought to you in part by viewers like you who joined the Patreon or become a YouTube member. Thank you. If you could, please hit the like button and subscribe if you want more Cavs-focused content. What the Cavs are doing is super impressive, and Brian Windhorst is definitely behind the train. He's kind of been on this for a little while here. I remember him talking about this in camp where he thought the Cavs were going to be really good. I think they've blown his expectations out the water, given how they've started this season. But he says some really interesting stuff and also answers what the big question about the Cavs: will they make an all-in move at the trade deadline? And should a 29-4 team make a giant move? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. We'll discuss that later on in this video, but let's hear what Brian has to say.
All but one of those games by double digits. They had a couple of fortunate situations. They caught the Bucks without Dame Lillard. They caught the Nuggets didn't have Aaron Gordon. They're catching the Mavericks this week without Luka Doncic. But I'm just trying to qualify a little bit. They've blown all of them out. Mm-hmm. And what's, I think, the most important thing to me in that stretch is they're the number 2 defensive team. And you go back and look since December 1st. Number 1 is Oklahoma City. They're 13-1 in that stretch. Their only loss was the NBA Cup, which technically doesn't count, but they haven't lost in a month either. They're the number 1 defensive team. Cavs are the number 2 defensive team. 20 or 23 or so games into the season, I was sort of sounding a warning about how the Cavs were bottom 2 or 3 in the league in 3-point defense. That was a major problem. I don't know whether it's fortune. You'd have to ask Kenny Atkinson, who really studies the film, whether or not he thinks their 3-point defense has been that tighter, but they're now, and over that stretch, they're now like 5th or 6th defending the 3-pointer. The defense that they're playing and the great system that they have that takes advantage of all kinds of different guys is what is giving you belief that this team can do something special. And by the way, they now have a 5-game lead over the Celtics. They've only lost 4 games in 3, half of October, November.
This is where I always say about this Cavs team: when they play the defense that they are capable of, when this Cavs team remembers that how they got to this point as a franchise, how they got to this point as a core, was based on defense, they play their best basketball. I said it early on in this new win streak, but I felt like they were playing better basketball in this new win streak than they were early in the early season win streak, because they were playing much better defense. Like during the win streak, I started to notice the Cavs defense was slacking a little bit. It wasn't what you wanted it to be. These scores were way too high. But the Cavs can routinely play great defense. Sometimes they will play it for 4 quarters straight. Sometimes they will just lock a team down for like 1.5 quarters and then win by 20. But they have this understanding, and I hope this sticks for the rest of the season and in the playoffs. In order for them to be great, in order for them to get away with as many shots as they take, in order for them to be the best version of themselves, they have to play great defense.
I think that I'm going to say, it's like every game they play, Chris, the opposing coach gives them a Valentine. When they obliterated the obliterated the Nuggets on their court last week, where the Nuggets actually shot the heck out of the ball. Jokic had a triple-double, was 12 of 19. Jamal Murray was 10 of 20. That was a good Jamal Murray game. Michael Porter Jr., 5 of 8 on threes. Their bench shot the ball well. They shot 50% as a team on threes. The Cavs blew them off their own court. You don't blow the Nuggets off their own court. I don't care who you are. Michael Malone comes in. These guys share the ball. They play together. They're impossible to defend. They go to the Warriors. Steve Kerr. They've got 6 guys averaging over 40% from 3, and they've got everybody who they bring off the bench can pass, shoot, or score. It reminds me of our team when I took over the Warriors 10 years ago. JJ Redick. They beat the Lakers. Lakers had a rest advantage, played pretty good basketball. Austin Reeves ties his career high. Anthony Edwards, 27 and 13 or whatever. Okay,
Yeah.
in LA. Giannis Antetokounmpo, that game, they win the NBA Cup 2 days off. They come to Cleveland. The Cavs blow them off the court. I know they didn't. There was another game, by the way, in there where they didn't have to play Joel Embiid. Blow the Bucks off the court. Giannis says playing against them is harder than playing against Oklahoma City because of their size. This is not my opinion. This is championship winning players,
Right.
championship winning coaches who are saying these things. Okay, you have to take this seriously. LeBron's had.
This is a huge point, right? If you're wondering if the Cavs are legit, it seems like every single coach or team that they've played that's legit or been a part of legit teams look at the Cavs and go, no, that's legit. Remember, Draymond Green was the first one to ring the alarm about the Cavs on his podcast where he got blown out by like 40 by the Cavs. And he was like, nah, dog, they're hard to beat. And then now JJ Redick, right? The number of coaches that they've played, they're just like, hey, that's a really difficult team to beat. They're playing really, really good basketball. Now, part of that is the way that the unselfish nature that the Cavs play, even with the stars that they have, is a coach dream, right? Like, I think that was one of the things that flew under the radar about this Cavs core is that they are unselfish. They're willing to share the ball with each other, and they're willing to lessen each other's loads. Just they're willing to, score less at times to make sure that other guys are eating. Like, there's not a lot of ego on this Cavs team. And that is a coach's dream, right? They don't have to worry about the politics of getting this guy this many shots and making sure that this guy is healthy and giving this guy enough minutes and fitting that into rotation. They don't have to work with any of that. What they get to work with is a core that is malleable, coachable, and very, very talented. And I think when coaches look at the Cavs, they go, damn, I wish I could coach a team like that, because that team is a coach's dream. I think that's part of why you hear these guys kind of gush over the Cleveland Cavaliers, on top of the fact that they're playing really, really legitimate, great basketball.
What would it take to acquire a wing defender if they wanted to really score? You just said it yourself. You got to take them seriously.
Cavs facility.
I can only
Do you
imagine
know
the
how many
number.
times I've been in there? Do you know how many Hershey white chocolate cookies and cream candy bars I bought in that True North? I'm just gonna say it's more than one.
Fair enough. Wendy, you
All right, now let's get to the question of like, hey, should this Cavs team be willing to make huge changes to what is the best record in the NBA during the trade deadline? Because they do have things to fix, but are we going to make, like, are we making the idea of perfect risk something that is already amazing?
mentioned the wing defenders. They still need the wing defender. All right, then let's have the conversation. You're 29-4. You've just said it yourself. You got to take them seriously. What would it take to acquire a wing defender if they wanted to really go after a championship this year and not just build out for maybe the next 3 or 4?
Yeah, so I think what the Cavs, as you know, the Cavs believe in this roster. Kenny Atkinson believed in this roster when he interviewed for the job. Kobe Altman believed in this roster. I don't think they think this. I think they think this roster is good enough to win it. I didn't believe that, clearly. I don't think anybody believed it. They believed it, and it's there. And so I do think if they're going to think about doing something here, and I think they at least have to start having the conversation, because if they think they can really do it this year and there's an opportunity, they deserve the right to explore it. Now, they have great chemistry. You watch them. There was this moment the other night after they had secured the game against the Lakers. They're up by 12. The Lakers raised the white flag. They dribbled out. If you remember, I don't know if you was kind of late. I don't know if you watched it, but it was like the last 20 seconds of the game. The Lakers waved the white flag. They're just dribbling it out. The Cavs came together at the center of the lane and like celebrated. I'm sure they were all had plans to go out that night. It was New Year's Eve. They were in LA. They had a couple of days off. It was a fun moment. They celebrate, and like in a good way. Like, hey man, we did it again. Tough situation back to back. Their camaraderie is just great. So you're careful about about messing with that. But if you're looking for something, you look at Karis Levert. So Karis Levert is on the last year of his contract. He's never played better. I mean, maybe he put up better numbers because he comes off the bench. His stats. Maybe he put up better numbers when he was with the Nets early on. He's never been better for the Cavs. He's shooting the absolute heck out of the ball. Like, you can't believe he's going to keep shooting this way. He's one of the most valuable players in the East off the bench. His plus minus, I think, is in the top 5 in the league. But he's a free agent after the season. They're in an apron situation. I think you have to at least see what you might be able to get with Karis Levert and your 2031 first round pick. I have not mentioned this before now, Chris, because I didn't think it was worth having a discussion about the 2031 first round pick. But Karis Levert and a 2031 pick is a basis that you could have a lot of trade conversations of.
Whew, 2031. 2031, man. Think about how long into the future that pick is. But Karis Levert, trading him in a 2031 pick, that is the ammo the Cavs have to make a move on the deadline, right? That is the moves that would make sense for them. Brian makes a great point. You don't want to mess with the camaraderie that this team has. Like, it feels like you have something special. I would not want to take anybody out because you could ruin it. But also, I understand from a just looking at this as pure assets standpoint, like a GM would, where Karis Levert seems like something that you got to sell high, and this is your best chance to sell it. Because Karis is playing as good as basketball as he's ever played. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the season. You're running into the second apron if you're the Cavs. I could see where you could justify it. But it's a tough thing to do because Karis is also really important to this Cavs team. And maybe you get somebody in return who's just as important and maybe more reliable and able to play the defense that you need. But it's just a tough thing, right? Like, I truly am, like, I'm even nervous, to be honest with you, about the Cavs entering the buyout market and adding players to the team like that. Because right now, I mean, we have a team that is just winning at such a high clip. It feels like we're doing too much if we start tinkering, right? Like, and poking at things, and you could go back to the season and say, hey, what if we never did that? I don't know. The Cavs are almost so good right now that it's almost impossible for them to make giant changes at the trade deadline. We'll see what they end up doing. Let me know how you feel about what the Cavs should do at the trade deadline. I'm in the comment section down below. But y'all have a great day. Have an even better night.